Hello, Tiger fans. Good evening. Thanks for joining us this week on the Perry Thomas Show, our final Perry Thomas Show of the season. Matt Payton with you in the WLCU studios as we get set to visit with the head coach of Fighting Tiger football, Campbellsville, taking part in the NCCAA Victory Bowl this past weekend. And, Coach, congratulations on a big win over SAGU and ending the season on a positive note, recognized as champions of the NCCAA level.
Yeah, great win for our guys. I thought our guys came out, early on, had to get into the rhythm of the game a little bit, but I thought we came out the second half and really clamped down on them and got a tremendous win against a good football team. SAGU had a good team, and both teams were capable of being playoff teams, so it was a great win for our program, a great way to finish the season. Fell a little short of our goals, obviously, of winning the league and going into the playoffs, but at the same time, an 8-2 record and being Victory Bowl champions is something to be very proud of.
And I heard you say, I think maybe post-game or may have even been last week here on this show, to be able to flip the script from a year ago, the 2-8, so many close games, so many games that could have went a different direction, but you credited your kids for coming back and having the mental toughness and continuing to work. And a lot of times you go 2-8, it's tough to kind of rebuild that and get back on track. But here you are, 3 consecutive years, very, very good years now, or 3 out of the last 4. Says a lot about your program to be able to come back and rebound after that.
Yeah, I thought the guys did a tremendous job of working hard in all season. I think the level of expectation in our program has really grown over the years, and they expect to be competing for divisional titles now, and they expect to be in the playoffs. And they're disappointed even this year at 8-2 that they didn't make it there. So last year we were very disappointed with that season. The key was those guys went to work and took care of their business in the classroom, took care of their business socially, and did all the other work habits in the weight room and so forth, and made it back. Retention's the deal for us. If we can retain those guys and add in those new forces, we're going to always be competitive. Where we get in trouble is when we have a couple to drop off for whatever reason, and that's what we had going into last year. So we had all those freshmen and sophomores playing. This year, those guys were sophomores and juniors, and you could tell a difference. And that's the key for us next year. We got to replace a few spots, but if those guys commit and come back, then we'll still be in the hunt next year. And the beauty of it is that we're sitting here disappointed at 8-2. And some people are like, well, how can you be disappointed at 8-2? But I think it's just the expectations of this program now. These guys expect to be competing for divisional championships. They expect to be in the playoffs. And even winning the Victory Bowl is a great deal for us. But it's still a little disappointing to where we want to be at, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing because that's going to continue to grow this program and move to that national championship level that we want to be. But I do think we have moved to where we are now one of those elite NAIA football programs where every year we're going to be in that top 15, 20 and be in the picture.
Now, that growth has led Campbellsville, did help lead Campbellsville to the Victory Bowl win. 41-28, the final score in this past weekend's matchup with SAGU out of Waxahachie, Texas. As we like to take a look at some of the numbers that made up that contest, Hunter Brown finishes his career as a Tiger going 17 of 33, 288 yards, a couple of touchdowns, a rushing touchdown also for Hunter Brown. Zarek Willis named Offensive Player of the Game, 6 catches, 163 yards and a score, an early score that got Campbellsville started. Garland Webb, Trey Webb, 12 tackles, one of those actually 1.5 for a loss, a sack, and 2 pass breakups in the ball game. And then total yardage there, Campbellsville 525 yards, 237 on the ground, 288 through the air. I thought that was an interesting number, Coach. We talked last week, and SAGU maybe a little more balanced. Typically, the Tigers, obviously, Hunter Brown and his ability to throw the football, but in this game, it was the Tigers that were so much more balanced. SAGU maybe got out of their rhythm a little bit, forced by your defense, of course, in the score of the football game. They had to go to the air a lot more, and I think when you can get that, maybe a recipe for success always.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought offensively it looked like they came in with the plan to, look, we're going to stop the pass. And, we still threw for almost 300 yards. But, by trying to stop the pass, they just opened up running lanes for us, and we was able to run the football, as well as we've run it all year. And we've had a few nice games of rushing the football, but I thought our guys really, offensive line rolled off that ball, and those running backs and even receivers were hitting the holes and making some big plays. And so I thought our ability to run the football was huge, and I think it contradicted what their plan was. And then defensively, you know, they were forced to throw because our run defense is so strong. You know, we finished the year, I think, giving up 96 yards a game rushing, which is, you know, in college football, you're giving up around 100 yards a game. That's tremendous. So teams, you know, couldn't really run on us. There was only maybe 2 or 3 teams that ran for more than 100 yards against us. And, you know, when they couldn't do that, then they had to throw the ball a lot more than their typical, which they throw the ball quite a bit, but not as much as they did the other day.
As we look at the highlights from that ball game, and Coach, it was an interesting game based on the win. That may have also impacted Hunter Brown's ability to throw a little bit. But fast start here, you come out a couple of short throws over to Zarek Willis to get the game started, and then boom, hit him with a home run over the top. Zarek Willis finishes his career again as the player of the game, the offensive player of the game, career high in yardage for Zarek. And I got to think, if as a college football player, always nice to set that career high going out with a win such as he did.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game for Zarek. You know, that touchdown was a check for us, actually. You know, Coach Garris checked that on the sideline when he saw him dropping that man coverage. And, you know, Zarek had a big game. He's a big-time player for us, and he's had a tremendous career.
The Tigers get that touchdown with Zarek Willis. J.P. Lowry answers for SAGU there on the other end, and it was a little back and forth there to start the ball game, Coach. You had some big plays. Both teams had some big plays, and you were kind of wondering at what point did the two clubs settle in a little bit. It took to about midway of the second quarter for that to kind of happen.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that you know, they had a good game plan. We had a good game plan, and you know, we missed some tackles, which gave them some things. And, you know, actually they went in at halftime up on us, and they were ready to go. But I thought, you know, second half our guys really responded, and you could see our grit and intensity went to another level, and we was able to start getting those stops that we needed so our offense could score.
And you can see those running lanes that Coach had talked about a moment ago there, a little kind of a counter play. And Chauncey Goodman, by the time he gets it and gets to the lane, you know, there's 6-7 yards wide the hole to run through. Kendon Young breaks free into the secondary. Coach, I think that young man from right across the road is just starting to scratch the surface. Now he looks really healthy after that knee injury 2 years ago.
Yeah, Kendon's had a great year, a great sophomore season, you know, and you got, you know, with Kendon and Kiana back next year. Kiana's a junior, and Jordan Duff back, and Braden Russell, you know, the core of your receiving crew is back. You lose Zarek Willis, so, you know, we feel good about that.
The Tigers here, a little trickery from Coach
Coach
Garris. And that ball just hung up, the wind, and a great interception by Malik Golden. That's a tremendous individual effort. But that wind was just, it would just hold the ball up at the least favorable times, it seemed.
Well, it was certainly a windy day. And, you know, defensively, I thought we swarmed. Once we got in our rhythm on defense, we really swarmed the football, and D-line was putting pressure. And that quarterback, I thought, was good. I thought he was a good football player. And right there, you know, we had pretty good position. We need to be inside of the receiver, but still, that was a great ball and great catch on them, and with not bad coverage.
And I think that was the point where maybe SAGU, it's kind of hard to keep up with, took a 21-13 lead.
Right.
At that point, the Tigers come back and get one more score before the half as Kendon Young with a big catch down the sideline. And here Kendon Young breaks free, gets into the secondary, a little jet sweep kind of look there. And you can see that explosiveness there from Kendon as it set up your third score. Yeah,
nice play right there for us and gets us back into the hunt and kind of closes the gap. And we went man coverage right there, and Jasiri Caldwell, you know, the big freshman pop, comes up with a big sack for us. And then we start getting a couple of picks on him. You know, DeAndre Hollis off a tip pass, gets a big pick right there and puts us down in the red zone.
And this is second half, actually, Coach. I wanted to touch on it. As Wade Holtzclaw getting ready here to score, the Tigers getting ready to score, Coach. But the end of the first half, I thought, was probably the turning point in the game. I know Jim Freeman mentioned it, but the more you think about it and go back and look at it, how do you perceive that? You got that big stop, fourth down. They go for it on a goal-to-go situation, and the Tigers get a stop. You're looking at a spot where, Coach, you could be down 2 scores with them getting the football, and instead you come up with a huge defensive stance. It's a lot about the team, but it also really flipped the game.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it was a huge play. I thought the fact that they didn't go for 3 was big, because if they, you know, once again, if they get any points right there and then come back out and score it immediately in the second half, then they're going up 3 scores basically. So that was a huge stop for us, and our offense came back in the second half, and we really got to roll in there for a while.
And here Wade Holzclaw scores a touchdown for Campbellsville, and we touched on that big stop. The Tigers get that stop. You have an early interception that we saw a moment ago with Dante Hollis getting or DeAndre Hollis getting the big interception, and then B.J. Pelt gets an interception, another Tiger score. You reel off 28 straight points and really just put Sagu behind the 8 ball the rest of the way.
Yeah, at that point they're playing catch up, and they're going to have to catch a big pass or something like that to get back in it. And we're still going to go to work. It was still early for us, so the fourth quarter we're still trying to add some points, and Bradley comes in and gets a big field goal right there for us. So now we're kind of getting a little separation in the score.
And you've got a team that wants to run the football. They've struggled to run the football in this game, and that's obviously not the way that you want to play. Come from behind football on the ground. Hunter Brown gets the score, stretches the lead on out once again there for Campbellsville, and Sagu comes back. They add a late touchdown, but Coach, at that point it was too late. The Tigers were well on their way to victory, and big sack by Trey Webb there at the end to kind of put the exclamation point on this game. I think we'll see that here in just a moment.
Yeah, I mean, we went up 3 scores, and they came back and scored and got onside, and Trey comes up with a big sack on a blitz right there on a stunt, and from there I think we're able to start winding the clock down and get out of this thing with the victory and start the celebration.
And those celebrations, Coach, you get hit there with the water, the Gatorade, whatever it might be, and those. I know, coaches, you might dread those a little bit, but also it's a good feeling to feel that success as well.
Well, and the great thing about it is, number one, I have my rain jacket on, but number two,
not your first rodeo.
The great thing about it is that when your team is disappointed because they're not playing in the championship that they want to play in, but they still have enough passion like that to celebrate a win, then it means something to them. And that was huge for us, I thought. At that point, you knew how special this game was to the guys. And we told them all week how special of a game it is. And they're not going to realize until the game gets going. So they come out ready to play. But at the same time, they're really not ready to play. And you can tell, it's not like they came out against Georgetown or Lindsay. But as the game went on, they started realizing, hey, that's another colored jersey. This is a championship. A lot of teams don't get to play for titles and so forth. We need to win this game. And you can see our intensity just kept rising, and our level of play continued to rise. And that's just the passion of the program. So I'm very proud of those guys. Stepped in a tough situation and dealt with some adversity and got a great win and finished the year 8-2 and Victory Bowl champions.
8-2 for the Tigers to wrap up the season. We'll step away, come back, and we will kind of wrap up the season with Coach Perry Thomas, put a bow on this 2017 year, and we'll look ahead as well to the offseason for the Tigers. Later on in the show, we'll be joined by Brent Vernon, the head coach of the Tiger basketball team as well. So stay with us here on the Perry Thomas Show.
Citizens Bank and Trust Company serves the Taylor County area with 3 convenient locations. Our online and mobile options can make your banking experience even easier, with features such as digital wallet, Touch ID login with our mobile app, and online deposits. Mobile banking also gives you the online control of your Citizens Bank debit card. Along with our banking locations, we also offer a no-charge ATM in the Student Commons on the campus of Campbellsville University. Citizens Bank and Trust in Campbellsville. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Perry Thomas Show, Tiger fans. Our final edition of the Perry Thomas Show this season as the Tigers wrapped up their season with that Victory Bowl championship over Sagu out of Texas. The Tigers now start to look ahead, but before we do that and we kind of put a bow on this thing with the head coach of Fighting Tiger football, Perry Thomas. Coach, we do want to mention that Hunter Brown is going to leave this program the all-time leading passer. He's going to have just about every passing record in the books. I talked to Kevin Burkhead last week, and he said, you know, for him, this is kind of the golden era of CU quarterbacks, and Hunter's going to finish the all-time leading passer in yardage, 7,649 yards. That's a record in his 2 years, and then 71 total touchdowns through the air for Hunter. He'll be the leader in completions, the leader in attempts, yardage per game. He did leave Jake Russell one number. I know those two guys are still very closely related, and they converse quite a bit, really good friends. He did leave Jake the completion percentage record. Jake's at 60.9%. Yeah. Hunter finished at 60.6%. Wow. So they were all over each other. He was actually ahead of Jake going into the final game. But talk to me just a little bit. Obviously, Jake was tremendous. Hunter's tremendous. It's been a really good stretch, but really cool to see some of those numbers and where he's at. And that's a 2 year, pretty much a 2 year record that Hunter was able to set.
Well, I mean, we've been blessed with, you know, 2 back-to-back All-American type quarterbacks. You know, all league type guys that every school in the country would want. You know, you get Jake and he comes in and sets the world on fire. You know, in 2 seasons, sets all type of records. And you know, we talk about what he would have done if he had played 3 or 4 seasons. And then everyone's like, well, what's going to happen to the Tigers now when Jake leaves? You know, they're still going to be able to run what they love to run and be capable of winning and competing. And you know, Hunter takes right over, and he comes in and actually sets some new standards. You know, so we've been very blessed with both of those guys, both of them first-class guys and leaders on the field, and really guide our offense. You know, to me, a great quarterback, everybody sees their ability to throw and get us out of pinches, but, you know, a great quarterback manages the game. And both of those guys did a tremendous job of that. And, you know, Hunter just it's great to see him follow in Jake's footsteps and set his own footsteps. You know, so now someone has to come in and try to follow him. And, you know, he's a tremendous football player, been a tremendous talent for us. Once again, imagine what he would have done with 3 or 4 years. Yep. You know, you look at those national records, those guys would have, you know, obliterated those things, you know, and he would have, you know, he would have been up 3 years, he would probably up 12,000 yards or so. Yeah, so very proud of those guys and of Hunter and what he's done and coming in, setting his own standards and continue to lead this program forward.
And the Tigers will start to look forward now. You bid adieu to a great group of seniors, Coach, and now you start that off-season process, exit meetings and different things. And before you know it, after you'll do some recruiting. I won't say after because I know that never really ends for you, but then you'll start to move into spring ball. So walk me through a little bit the next couple of months for you guys.
Well, I mean, immediately we'll start our study hall, mandatory study hall. We already do study hall, but now that'll increase in time and days. You know, and it'd be more mandatory with everybody there together. During the season, we do study hall more with coaches doing their own study hall groups. But now we'll start mandatory study hall 4 days a week for an hour each day with the entire team that needs to be in there, identified by their academics. So that is start immediately. We'll continue our weights of 4 days a week that we've been doing throughout. Recruiting, you know, we hit the road during the season, but we'll be able to hit the road quite a bit more. Now, you know, you're trying to get to those guys that you've identified kind of as blue chippers. Those are the guys you're really heavy on right now, and you'll get some of your walk-on guys, but most of those guys that we identify as the heavy hitters are the ones we'll be on now. So we'll try to really grind on those guys, go to some recruiting fairs, you know, throughout the states where you get opportunity to see a wealth of kids and coaches, a high number of kids and coaches, and not just visiting one school. So we'll hit quite a few of those and all-star games and all that stuff, and then you will start getting ready for spring ball. You know, we'll start getting ready for spring ball, make sure our guys in shape for that with the all-season program. All-season program's always a challenge, you know, in the weight room and with your conditioning and so forth, because not only are you trying to get those guys physically ready to play, you're trying to get them mentally ready to play also. So you're going to challenge them a little bit, and it's a process that's not easy for the guys, but they go through it and sets the stage for a great spring to lead to a great fall, hopefully.
And that fall opens up, Coach. We got a graphic ready real quick. It'll be here before you know it. Faulkner will come to Tiger Town, a team that you didn't see this year, but very familiar with the Faulkner Eagles, and scheduled for the 25th. That's a Saturday. Kickoff time, of course, to be announced, but we'll blink our eyes and we'll be looking at opening day there against Faulkner.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about it, that's one of the heavy hitters of the Mid-South Conference right there. I mean, traditionally a top 20 team, actually traditionally a top 10-15 team. Had a good year this year, not as good as they've had lately. So we know that's going to be a exciting opener. You know, fans should be excited about that. It's not one of those new names that we're not familiar with. Everyone knows the Faulkner names. We've had some shootouts with those guys, you know, on our field and at theirs. And so it's going to be an exciting way to open the season. Two top-ranked teams. You know, I think we'll certainly start in the top 20. Hopefully in the top 15 or so, and Faulkner, I would think, would be in that top 25 or so. So should be an exciting way to start the season, and it'll be here before you know it.
And before we let you go, there will actually be a football game in this community this week, and I think that you know, I wanted to give you a chance to touch on that a little bit. 19 years ago, you led a team to a regional title at Campbellsville High School. You're still so closely tied with a lot of those coaches over there that played not only for you in high school, some of them at the university, Robbie Gribbins, maybe Will Griffin as well, perhaps. So, you know, still closely tied, and it's really exciting for them to be able to host another state semifinal game. Beechwood will come to town on Friday. You can hear that on 88.7 The Tiger. But, you know, just wanted to give you a few minutes your thoughts on that for the Eagles.
Well, I mean, obviously Campbellsville Eagles is a program that's dear to my heart. We got there in '88, and when Chuck Smith and I came, it was a program very low. We were forfeiting games. You know, we actually forfeited to our crosstown rival, I think, our second year there against Taylor County, and just because we didn't have the numbers. And when I took over in '92, we were still low numbers-wise, but, you know, we start rising, and the program continued to grow through the years while we was over there. And, you know, the last 3 or 4 years, we were, you know, one of the best Class A programs in the state. And '98 won the regional championship. And lost to Mayfield in that semifinal game. So, you know, very proud of what those guys have done over there. You know, Campbellsville's a job that you really have to work because it's not a large school system. So you have to get the guys out and you have to keep them out. And those guys have done an excellent job of building that program and continuing to roll. And, you know, they got opportunity to do something special, and that's, you know, to play for a state championship possible. So obviously I wish them all the luck in the world. We'll be there supporting them and want to see those guys shine, you know. That's, like I said, a program very dear to our heart. And I think '77 they won a regional title, and then '98, and you know, this year. And I actually think that, you know, the way their district and region sets up now, and I think they have a chance to win 2 or 3 more over these next couple of years. So those guys can't take that for granted, though. You can't take these opportunities for granted. When you have that opportunity, you go take advantage of it. And you know, I'm excited for those guys and wish them all the success in the world.
Well, good luck to the Eagles this weekend, Friday night, as they take on Beechwood there at home, a chance to go to the state finals. Coach, thank you so much for a terrific year. And
yes, sir.
We'll do it again come August.
They'll be here before we know it.
Coach Perry Thomas and the Tigers finishing up with an NCCAA Victory Bowl championship. We'll step away, come back, and we'll get the thoughts of the head coach of Tiger basketball, Brent Vernon, on the start to their season, as well as this weekend's upcoming matchup at the Powell Center. Stay with us here on the Perry Thomas Show.
Here at Saloma Baptist Church, our mission and ministry extends beyond our walls. We are focused on teaching all ages about the love of Jesus, preparing them for a life of mission. We are committed to serving the local community and the world in the name of Jesus Christ. For more information on service times and mission opportunities, please visit our website at salomabaptist.com. We extend a warm welcome to you and your family here at Saloma Baptist Church.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Perry Thomas Show, Tiger fans. Matt Payton in the WLCU studio here as we transition just a bit. The Tiger basketball season has started for both the men's and women's teams, and joined now by head coach of the Tigers, Brent Vernon, his second season at the helm of the Tiger program. And Coach, it was a late start for the club. We've seen some of these teams coming in 5, 6, 8 games, it seems like, but the Tigers with a late start. But here we are now getting into that rhythm, and you know, it seems like got 2 or 3 games a week, and that's the way you want it.
Yeah, and being late, it now gets to the point to where the rest of this semester is going to go by quick because you really don't have time off from games. Made our very first month and a half with practices important because you're doing a lot of rest and trying to recover in between games, a lot of back-to-backs going on, and even games where you only have a day or two to prepare for your next team. So our guys have to be very smart. Our coaching staff has to be smart on how to handle that. But we've done a pretty good job so far. Just got to work a few kinks out and continue to progress. And if we do that, I like where we're at so far.
We're going to look ahead here, 4-1 entering the ball game with Freed-Hardeman. We're actually recording this on Tuesday. This will air Wednesday night. You're listening to this Wednesday night. The Tigers have already played this matchup with Freed, but just quickly your kind of thoughts, assessment of the Lions as they come up from Henderson, Tennessee.
Very good team. Jim Sanderson, the coach there, used to be at Faulkner University as a national championship coach. He won a championship at Faulkner, and now he's at Freed, and it's his second year as well. So he's going through a little bit, I think, right now of what we went through the first year, and even this year, a lot of new players. I'm going to say had a lot of guys ended up deciding they didn't want to return after the first year, and Coach Sanderson is going to do his thing, and he's going to make sure it's done the way he wants to, sort of like we went through at the same time. So he's got a lot of guys trying to figure himself out, but very well coached team, very disciplined, do a lot of things right. It'll be a great test for us, one of the toughest, if not the toughest, because we will have to be very good defensively. When we talk about offense, I'm not really worried about offense right now, and our guys always look at me crazy, but we're scoring enough points all the time. If we can get to where we are a very good defensive team and a rebounding team, the offense takes care of itself, and that's what we're really trying to focus on.
And your schedule sets up where you'll be at home over Thanksgiving weekend, an event. If you're in the community and need something to do on Friday evening, it's a 6 o'clock tip-off, 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. I know the Tigers would love the support. You've got Central Pennsylvania coming in Friday evening, and then Brescia on Saturday. And again, you get those back-to-back games continue to kind of something you may see later, you hope to see later in the season in a national tournament setting, but it's really good to kind of see what you've got, those quick turnarounds and the toughness of the club.
Absolutely, and it's one of those, it's twofold. Sometimes you like to have days off, and sometimes it's good for your guys to see, like you said, how tough they are. And it's something that, when you get to the end of the year, conference tournament and hopefully the national tournament, you're playing multiple days as it goes along. We have back-to-backs with Central Penn and Brescia, both teams that are doing pretty well this year, play very hard, are very well coached, and they're coming in and playing two what I think very good Mid-South teams in ourselves and University of the Cumberlands. It'll be a good weekend of basketball. Glad that it's here. Like to be home over the Thanksgiving break instead of out traveling. A lot of times we're on the road, so it's a good change of pace for our club, and we're looking forward to it. Again, the guys are to the point now, practices they're good at, but it's time for us to really get into the groove of games and stuff, and they're really looking forward to this week of 3 games.
And that schedule is kind of wild, Coach. You had, of course, the exhibition at Western, then 3 neutral site games in Georgetown. Then you get 7 straight at home, 6 more throughout to end December, and then you go straight into conference play. It's strictly conference second semester. You'll get into that conference routine. Kind of a wild way that your schedule aligned this year.
Yeah, I've done a pretty bad job with it. Probably should have switched it up a little bit, but it's good for our guys because I think it tests us in a whole lot of different ways. One, we get to play some at home, and our guys get to experience the home crowd. That's the only negative about the Thanksgiving games because we have the best student section in the conference, and the PAL is always a place that we have a good home court advantage, and it probably won't be that way over Thanksgiving because everybody's going to be home. But then we get a few more after that so they can get a good taste of it. Then we go on the road and we have a couple neutral site games, and it's good for our guys to then have a stretch of that to see how we can respond to not being at home. And then again, we get into the tough Mid-South, and everybody knows how that is night in and night out.
Well, we've got some time to prepare for that one as the Tigers still a long way to go before we get there. Coach, thanks so much for joining us this week. And we'll do it. ICUS, our Inside CU Sports program, will launch beginning January 3rd. Will be the first time for that, so you can catch Coach Brent Vernon, Ginger Colvin, and other head coaches around Tiger Athletics weekly as we fire up Inside CU Sports when we get back after the Christmas holiday. Thanks to Coach Thomas for his help with us this year, is stopping in and visiting with us each and every week here on the Perry Thomas Show. Thanks to Brent Vernon this week. We'll see you in January on Inside CU Sports. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us at WLCU and Campbellsville University.
WLCU TV, a service of Campbellsville University. Comcast Cable Channel 10.